Hey everybody, welcome back to theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, that website address is theclinicaltrialsguru.com. If you don't know by now, you should be checking it out. We've got tons of clinical trial content for the study participants, the family of people who participate in studies, and also the research professionals, people who work in the industry. People such as this lady who, again, I'll keep her name confidential. But she said she had a question, and these are the best kind of videos, and I'm going to have Don do one on this topic as well. These are the best kind of videos that we create because they're actual response to people's real questions. So we figure if this lady has this question, somebody else might have similar questions. So she says she's in the process of starting a research site somewhere back east. She actually tells me the state, but if I give it away, if I mention the state, I might give away her identity. So she's in the process of starting up a research site. Her background is strictly clinical. Looks like she's an RN, a registered nurse. But she's being asked to create a business plan and provide a revenue cost projection for the CEO. Ouch. And she said, I've never done this before, and I'm having trouble trying to figure out how to project cost when I have only been awarded one trial but will not start to enroll until January 2012. Of course, they're submitting for several other trial opportunities. I tried looking online for business plans, but they never seem to capture what we do at a clinical site. Of course not. There's a lot of generic business plans out there. Basically, they boil down to getting you to think about costs and expenses, where you're going to be spending money, and also where you're going to be getting the money from, which is also known as sales. I would love to hear some of yours and Don's ideas on this, and if you can maybe give me some pointers on how to grow and operate a successful clinic. Being a startup, we have very little cash available, so I must be creative. Alright, this is a typical problem. There's many ways to look at this. Number one, I understand your boss wants a business plan, so you should probably give him something. But 90% of the time, these business plans are complete nonsense. There's no way you can project what's going to happen. There's so many different variables. You may not get that study that you have. That study may end soon. That study may end tomorrow. I was working at obviously with South Coast Clinical Trials, we were projecting for this one particular study to keep us busy for a while, and all of a sudden the sponsor just canceled the study. So these projections, while they may be helpful, they're not very reliable. But here's what you should do. You should figure out that one study that you have. Start with that. Figure out how many coordinators you're going to need to run that trial. Figure out what your overhead's going to be. Figure out how much you have to pay the PIs. And then you'll have a list of costs there. And include overhead, include about 30% overhead. That includes the rent, maybe the utilities, how much you're going to pay the patients for their participation in the trial, office supplies, everything you can think of. Bring it there, and then I want you to multiply that by 2. Because we always tend to think that things are going to cost less than they are. So take those costs, multiply it by 2. Then I want you to take the study budget you have for your trial, and I want you to think of how many subjects you could potentially enroll on a monthly basis, and I want you to divide that by 2. And then add up how much revenue you're going to be getting on a monthly basis, and compare that with the expenses. And I want you to multiply the expenses by 2, and I want you to divide your revenue by 2, because I want you to expect you're going to make less than what you're projecting, and I want you to expect that you're going to be spending more than you're projecting, because it happens all the time. It doesn't sound like you're going to be profitable with this one study, so then you got to look at how much runway do you have, how much free cash do you guys have in order to dedicate to this, and most importantly, how quickly can you get your next study, or your next 2 or 3 or 4 or even 5 studies up and running, and have those generate revenues for you as well. negotiate monthly payments from the sponsors, and again, divide the projected revenues from those studies by 2, because it's always going to be less than you expect, and the payments are never going to come on time, at least from my experience. At some point, you're going to reach break even, and that's where you want to be, and you really want to get into the profitable stages, but be prepared to lose some money here if you only got one study. And if you use my calculations here, put that into the business plan. And it's better to be conservative than too optimistic when it comes down to budgeting for these trials. I wish you nothing but success, and if you get any follow-up questions, ask myself or Don. You could email me at dan@southcoastclinicaltrials.com. We're going to have Don do a follow-up video to this. If you've got follow-up questions, please send it to me. I'd love to give you a more detailed explanation. Good luck, let me know how it goes, and we'll keep in touch. This is Dan from theclinicaltrialsguru.com.